Okay. Cut number 2. Hi guys, I'm Mark. How are you? It's Monday. No, it's not. It's Tuesday, and it's May the 5th, and it's 4:30 or so. And I'm in my neighborhood, and I decided to take myself for a walk to go to a place where I thought I could get a cup of coffee. Here I've got my cup of coffee, and then my plan was to get the coffee, and over the course of time that I'm drinking my coffee, I would talk, and you guys would listen, and then we get to know each other a little bit better. Get to know each other a little bit, and then I would introduce myself to you, because this is my very first video blog. In the end, what I'm doing is I'm doing a blog at home. I've got a blog I'm working on, which is a written blog, and I'm kind of halfway through it written down so far. But what I also want to include with it is a sense of blog stuff, a visual sense where I talk to you guys, telling you what's on my mind, who I am, that's part of what I want this to be. And so I decided that's a good way to do it. And so I don't know exactly how it's going to plan out. In the end, I decided to get my cup of coffee and do my talking in the end. That's what I'm doing right now. If I don't like this at all, I would just edit it out. Try again later, but start doing it. Alright, so I'm Mark. I just turned 61. My birthday is April the 9th. And so I turned 61 just a week or two ago. And the same date, April the 9th, in 1959, I was born. And my mother, Beatrice, she was 20 years old on the share of the birthday together. So on April the 9th, she turned 20, and I was born on that day. So we've been sharing our lifetime together forever. And so she's my mom, and she shares the birthday with me. And she's also then the grandmother of my daughter, and she's also then the great-grandmother of my grandkids. And so, and this is about me, and in the end, me and my grandkids. That's just all about being a grandfather, how that has impacted me, how it's a positive part of that, the things I like about that, the things that are fun about that, the things that I couldn't, my life has never been the same without that, and the things I look forward to about that, and so that's what I want this to be, and this is not a very eloquent, perhaps, version of that. Hopefully, but in the end, there you have it. That's what's right now. And so, Eva is my first grandchild, and she was born in 2011. Here we're coming into 2020. We're in 2020, and Eva was born on August 30th, and in 2011. So she's going to be 9 years old. Holy shit! It's coming August. She's going to be 9 years old, which is like quite a thing. You know that all of a sudden someone was just made in your arms not so long ago. She's now 9 years old. She can do bloody well. She can move all over the place. She can get herself around. She's really quite confident, quite good with moving herself around, jumping and running and jumping, skateboarding, all the things that you do when you're not. She's very good. And then her sister is Sophie. It's her birthday like next week or 2 weeks from now. And she's gonna be turning 7. Sophie will be turning 7. She was born in 2013, so she's gonna be turning about 7 years old. So 7 and 9. That's the split between the two grandkids, Eva and Sophie. Okay, so that's what I'm here talking about, and that's what my website is talking about. That experience, about the pleasure and the joy of that stuff, and the challenges attending to all that stuff. And I thought, if that's something that was of interest to me to want to pursue, then I'm here to do it. And I just decided that if I'm going to have a talk with myself and have my cup of coffee, then give myself that amount of time to do it. And I'm talking now, and people look at me asking, what the hell is this guy doing? But this is also where, now I don't know, and you don't know whether or not we're just at the beginning of this COVID shutdown stage of things, or if we're in the middle of it, or towards the end of it. We don't quite know, do we? Because in the end, then this might be going on for a long bloody time. And in that spirit, then we're all in sort of isolation. We're all sort of distancing ourselves, in terms of people. And so, rather than sitting by a park bench somewhere, I decided then to get myself the only cup of coffee place I could find, which is the local gas station. So I knew to take out Tim Hortons. So I went there I walked to the gas station in order to go in and get a takeout cup of coffee, so I could have this kind of video moment with you guys. Okay, so I could introduce myself to you, and you guys could at least get a sense of my face, at least get a sense of my voice, get a sense of my choppy deliver in that charming, I hope, that way. So in that spirit, that I'm introducing myself to you that visual way. Because in the end, you will also, when you go to my website, which is called Chez Pa, when you go there, then I've written down some of the things I'm trying to say here now, just as I'm rambling here. I've written it down a little bit more eloquently, a little bit more not structure, but with a bit of more sense of, it's not quite as choppy, it's a little bit more deliberate. I could sort of edit it along the way, so if it was getting too long-winded, I could sort of redo it and rework it again and edit the spelling and edit the punctuation, blah, blah. So in that spirit, then, when you leave this moment with me and you want to go and see who I am, or read who I am, and read what I have to say, then you can also go to my website, which is at Chez Pa. Let me explain that to you a little bit then, because I call myself Pa, because then, here's the deal. Ava, who's my oldest grandchild, she was learning to talk, blah, blah, and in the end, at that time, she was living with us. She was living with me and Nan, and in the end, then Gwen, my daughter, was with us, and we were all living together because they were buying a house, and they were with us, were getting ready to buy their house, and then also Sophie was going to be born. So Gwen was pregnant with Sophie, so Sophie was living with us, not far from here, quite frankly, and then we lived together all for a full year, and in that full year, then, among the things that we did together was Ava ended up going to her local daycare. And in going to her local daycare, then she was just learning to talk and just learning how to whatever, because she's only a year and a half years old. And then she was introducing me to her friends as her pa, because in the end, I guess she had a bit of a hard time understanding grandpa or whatever she was trying to say about who I was. But her friends that ended up cluing into the fact that I was Paul. He used to say, "Hi, Paul. How are you, Paul? How are you, Paul?" So anytime I went to the daycare, which was on a daily basis or pretty well, then I was always sort of getting ready to say, "Hi, Paul. Hi, Paul." How? And I said, "That's cute. That's funny. It's weird." But in the end, that sort of stuck. I thought, "I'm not Paul. I'm Pa." Then that sort of turned out to be what that was. And then so I liked that. And in the end, it worked out well, because in the end, if I was going to be Pa, that meant then there was full birth. There was no sense of boundary issue. If all of a sudden my dad, who was going to now be great grandpa, and Harold, who's going to be grandpa, then there was a grandpa and a great grandpa and a pa. So all of a sudden nobody was tripping over each other in terms of who was being called grandpa. Because in the end, when I was growing up, my father was grandpa, and I guess when anybody else was growing up, Harold has always been grandpa too. So we couldn't have like three grandpas. It would be totally confusing everybody. Never mind confusing me too. So then when Ava decided to call me Pa, and I said, yes, let's do that then. And then my father could be great grandpa without any kind of a competition for me or any kind of sense of boundary issue and confusion for Ava. And then her grandpa, who was Harold, then he got full run of that kind of label too, and everything worked out easily from there. So that's my little story in terms of why it turned into be Pa. And I just like that because I'm the only Pa that I know, and in the end, then I'm the only Pa that Ava knows. And as it turns out, I'm the only Pa that Sophie knows too, because in the end, everybody calls me Pa. So what the hell? And so that's where that sits. That's where that comes from. It's no fancier than that, but it's certainly at least that fancy. And that's my story. Okay, so that's part of what this experience has been for me, just having a bit of a sense of newness. And as I'm talking to you here now, I'm realizing, for example, part of what I like about being a grandfather, part of what I like about having grandkids, I've only got the two. I've got Ava and I've got Sophie, but I've got two. And in the end, then you see everything's new. It's new. This is my first video blog here. I've never done this before, and I can tell myself I'm nervous and I'm not necessarily as eloquent as I'd like to be, and perhaps I'm not impressing myself as much as I'd like to impress myself. But here I am doing it. But it's new, and in the end, I'm working on a blog, a regular blog at the house, and that's new for me too. And I'm just finished my first year of retirement. I'll be finished my first year of retirement June the 1st. So I've only been retired for a little bit of time, and that's all new to me as well. So new and new and new. And the girls then, new and new and new, is every friggin' day of their life there's something new and new and new. And that's a lovely, charming thing to be privy and attuned to, because in the end, if you're seeing that everything that they do is new, and they're getting good at something, or they're learning with something, or they're just struggling with something, it's all brand new. That's a very fascinating place to be. It's developmentally significant to watch newness play itself out and be supportive of being a supportive of each person in their newness journey. Because in the end, everything that they're doing is new. A new taste, a new whatever. Anything that you might want to engage in newly, it's happening right now in real time. So in real time, then I'm doing this real time, first time doing this. And conversely, then Ava and Sophie are both doing real time this or that. And their stories are very eloquent and very charming and very real and very true. And in that spirit, then when you watch that, when you get into that, when you just allow that to be, and you can grow with that too, then you can really appreciate it, and you can be charmed by it. It can bring you down to a sense of what is important. Because in the end, the vulnerability and the what's the word I'm looking for? Not vulnerability, but there's a word I've lost here. Sometimes I lose my words at this stage of the game. But when there's a newness to it, your experience, and there's a certain kind of a charm to it too, and it's something which is like a never forget. You can't forget about it at all. It's a very interesting thing. So then that's what might be something I might do a little bit more of a reasonable and a little bit more of a sense of focused, perhaps deliberate sense of treatise on newness and what that sort of can play in terms of like grandfathering and how that's new to people and how their grandkids' newness is of interest and how that's something you can share in common. And so if they've got new things, I've got new things, blah, blah. There's a commonality that we can perhaps engage or just know about, at least be just acknowledge, just to reference and to affirm that I'm new and you're new. I don't know it all. You don't know it all, and let's learn it together, or whatever, something like that. And when there's frustrations, well, how do we share our frustrations? How do we manage our frustrations? So these are teaching moments for me and learning moments for them or whoever, whatever. We're all learning and teaching each other at the same time, and we're helping each other when we have our easies, we have our hards, and we're just trying to make some sense of the best we can, right? The best we can, and not running away or not avoiding or not. We're not saying no, and just keep on going and not expecting to be perfect every time, my goodness, but at least to be in the game, to be part of having a day which is your day to have. So have it, enjoy it, okay? So that's part of my thinking on that subject. So I'll give it a little bit more reflection. I might even put that in writing somehow, some way when I maybe have a blog moment when I'm back in the house. But that's just a mental note for myself now. All right, so in the end, that's what I'm doing here now. I've been at this now for 11 minutes, which is pretty good. So what I want to do is, I want this to be my first template, if you will. I'm having my coffee. I said to myself, I give myself a cup of coffee's worth of time. And after that, I'd sort of say, okay, guys, see you later. And then I'd start to walk myself home. But in the end, now I'm 11 minutes in, and now my coffee is halfway to go. And what I'm going to say to you now is that the next person I'm going to pass this off to is my dad. Because my dad, I told my mother that I was born on her birthday. And so she is 81, and I'm 61. So, she's 20 years to the day older than I am. And my dad then, Peter, he's 80. He will be 82. I think so. He'll be 82 in July. And so my next intention is to pass this video blog task off to my dad. He's got a phone. I'll say, Dad, do what I've done and take so many minutes of your time. Go get yourself a cup of coffee and then talk into the phone and tell the world about you and yourself, and then give a little bit of feedback to people who are listening to you about your experience of being a grandfather. And when my dad does that, he's going to say, well, I've got like so many grandkids. He's got way more than I've got. And then beyond that, he's got a bunch of grandkids, great grandkids. So he's got 5 or 6 or 7, 8 grandkids. I don't even know the number anymore. And then beyond that, he's got a whole whack of great grandkids then too. So in that spirit then, he's going to have a lot to say too. So this is me doing my thing. Granddad number 1, Pa, and then great granddad Peter, granddad number 2. In this exercise, I'll sort of pass the baton off to my dad through his version of this then too. So me, and then my dad, and then after my dad is done, he'll do his video. He'll send it to me somehow, and I'll do a YouTube. I'm not sure what, but I'll put it onto my blog page anyway. And then get ready for this. I'm going to go over to Harold, because Harold then is Ava's paternal grandfather. Because in the end, Harold is Ben's father. I am Gwen's father, Gwen, and I am Ava and Sophie's granddad, maternal granddad, and Harold then is their paternal granddad because he's Ben's father. So that was easy to understand, right? And so I will go from me to Peter, and then for Peter then we'll go to Harold, and that will be 1, 2, and 3 of us. We'll sort of start off, kickstart this sense of Chez Pa. The Chez Pa website, in terms of what it's all about then, I'm going to suggest this is the beginning, and I'm having a cup of coffee to sort of make this have a sense of starting somewhere. I'm into it for 14 minutes now. That's probably getting close to be long enough, because I'll lose your attention if I wait too much longer. But then I'll say that this is my plan, just to pass it on to Peter, and then to put this video onto my webpage, and then the next time that I see you, I'll have done this again, probably with another cup of coffee along the way. But in the meantime, I'll probably try and get my dad, Peter, and my father-in-law, grandfather-in-law guy, Harold, to do his thing then too. I don't know what my relationship to Harold is supposed to be called. My co-granddad, I'm not quite sure, but he's granddad number 3 in this, my little order of things here too. So it's granddad and granddad and granddad. After that, they'll make a new plan, because I have no idea who else I'm going to involve in this. It might be a lot of people. They might be lining up to try and do this thing then too, because it's the COVID time, so I can't go and see them just now. They got to sort of do their own thing. 5 minutes to go, 5 seconds to go. That's it. That's good enough for now. Okay, guys? Hope you enjoyed it. Whatever. Doing my best. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Go to Chez Pa. Bye.